and we are actually talking about stress, being burnt out, how men should deal when things get overwhelming. Ay, nako. I mean,
Suntukan na lang. Meet you behind the cafeteria.
Parang default yun. Nanonotice ko, parang default yun sa atin, sa Pilipinas.
I think it's not just in the Philippines. I think
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is
Really?
actually. Yeah, I was reading something about that not long ago where they were talking about. It was actually the topic was about social media and how it's affected because they were talking about video games and aggression and all that and social media. And this psychologist was explaining that no, social media actually and computers and video games didn't actually do that to men because men by nature
Are like that.
Yeah, they're like that. So that became their release. This is his words, not mine. It became their release. So when you put a gadget in their hand, they were like, oh, let's do this for basketball or, sad to say, porn, right? But no, let's just call a spade a spade. That's what, and I'm quoting him. These are not my words. So he was like Jonathan Haidt, the guy is. So that's how they would sort of. It didn't correlate with violence because it became their release of their thing because they will confront each other physically and fight to release stress and to handle problems. But then you give them a device and that's where they go and drown them, get away from it all. He said the opposite happens with women. Whereas, they don't confront, they don't necessarily get physical and all that. But when you put this into their hands, it became a weapon to actually attack the other woman.
Whoa.
He's talking about the United States. He was really, and it's basically how social media has changed and stressed everyone out and led to depression as well. And he's saying it's such a bad thing.
especially now that election is it's so
Oh,
stressful
it's so
on social
toxic.
media.
It's so toxic in there.
Diba?
That's another thing you can do to avoid burnout is don't expose yourself to all this negativity. You have a choice. You can literally scroll past. I cannot stress that enough. Don't go on social media looking to be offended. This is something that a lot of people do. I don't know why. Phenomenon-wise, it's a phenomenon worldwide. People go on there looking for reasons to be offended when there's already enough reasons in your life to be upset and offended and stressed and all that. Don't go looking for it. So if you are already, on a highly stressed life or you're getting there and you're on social media and you see something you don't like and you don't agree with,
that's how it starts.
try something really radical like scrolling past and moving on.
Makes your life so much better when you do.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, especially now.
Yeah, because what ends up happening is you look there, you will put your 2 cents worth in. Sometimes you're angry, so you'll use all caps and all that. Somebody's going to come back, and then now you're invested in an argument.
Yes.
An argument takes up a lot of your time. It also takes out a lot of your mental and your emotional energy. So every time I look there's many times that I'm on social media, on my own page and stuff, and then somebody will be taunting or you might get a troll and stuff like that. I really, really measure myself very carefully because I always ask myself, is this worth it? Because for you to get involved in an argument takes so much out of you as a person. Do you have the time for this, or can you place your time to better use? If the answer is the latter, just scroll past. It makes you more of a man, makes you more of a human being to just, say it's not worth it. It's a classic pick your battles.
Yeah. Of course, that's easier said than done. No?
Oh,
I know a
tama,
lot of,
yeah.
that takes a lot of maturity, a lot of practice,
It
a lot
does.
of,
Not giving a crap.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but
confidence.
You
I
have
would
to
say.
let go. I mean, you have to really at some point let go, and because there are going to be times where you cannot. Like you said, there's times where it's too difficult. You cannot. Somebody's attacking your character or slandering you or defaming you, and you have to defend yourself because otherwise you might be perceived as your silence is guilt, right?
Yeah.
But there are what I'm talking about is there's so many more that have nothing to do with you, so don't get involved.
Yeah.
I'm glad that James, you mentioned about your page because from time to time, actually like twice or thrice a week, I do check out all of the what you guys post there. But more than anything, it's the comments that are really crazy.
Don't
Always, it's always.
Grabe.
Yeah.
And my question there is that if I notice that you do answer to some but not all.
Yeah.
You comment or you reply to some but not all. Now, how do you actually how do you stop yourself from not replying to these kinds of people who just cause so much stress?
Because I know that they're just doing it to cause stress. You can pretty much sniff it out when somebody's being genuine and somebody is just trolling. So when I think that, is this adding or taking away from the conversation? That's my first question. Is this going to lead to good or bad? Because there are many times where some people say, but you answered so and so, and that was a really dumb question or something like that. Why did you waste your time with that person? And I always say, it's not that person, it's all the people around that person who are reading this comment. Because sometimes when you talk to one person, for every one person that engages on your page or actually writes a comment, there are usually anywhere from 100 to 300 to 500, depending on the size of your page, who don't. But they're reading. They're still there. These are still very impressionable minds. As a matter of fact, I would argue that these are more rational minds because they're actually not invested yet in the argument. So they're not invested in a position yet. These are the minds that you have a chance to actually influence positively. They're looking at how you handle that person. So somebody might say, pero ano, I think all gay people should not have this right or whatever. You know, many people say, well, that's stupid of you to think that way. You're an idiot and all that. Where does that lead you? Versus that's an opportunity to actually have a conversation with the person, no matter how silly that statement might be, right? That person may be genuinely living under a very sheltered environment and really think that that's the solution. Instead, you tackle it so there are other people. If he's thinking like that, he or she, chances are there are other people who think like that. And that's your opportunity to tackle it properly and say, you know what, everyone has this right, that right, whatever. And you explain yourself to the greater audience, not to that one person. So that's where I choose. But if I know somebody is just picking a fight, I don't have time for that.
I want to know, have you always thought this way? Or did, circumstances or experiences?
I think circumstances, yeah. I think
because that's a very smart way to go about it. Not a lot of people, I would say the majority of people won't react that way to negativity or to criticism.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard, but you can train yourself because it all starts with why. Everything starts with why for me. So every time I get a little rattled or, something's, I get shaken off my core, I look, wait, why am I doing X? Why am I doing this again? And when you go back to the basics of why, it tends to make you think clear because you realize, okay, wait, I'm trying to push for a platform here of a better transport experience for everybody. Cooler heads on the road, let's say, if I'm talking about this topic or this particular discipline. Does this help? When you go back to that core of why, I'll ask myself, does this help or does this take away or does this actually reverse? Does this make it, turn the argument somewhere else? If the answer is it's taking away, just don't get involved. There's no ego in it for me. I just have a mission. I just have an objective in the end, which is to create a better environment where we can share our thoughts, because I certainly don't have all the answers, but I would like to think that I become a vehicle to get those answers, at least for this section of transport. And we can only do that by having a rational conversation. Now, if I reacted to every single person who's...
Man-made.